welcome back to the Dinosaur Mama YouTube channel where we are going to be covering all things crafty. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel so that I can continue to make you crafty tutorials every week. This week we are continuing our Valentine's Day tutorials and we are going to be making these super cute paper houses, and we'll go through the entire Cricut Design Space tutorial and setup, and you can grab the free SVG file on my blog and I'm going to link that below. Let's get started. For this project, all you're going to need is cardstock paper. I'm using a 65-pound weight, some craft glue, and some hot glue. Let's set this up in Cricut Design Space. Once you download and upload the 3 SVG files, the first thing you're going to want to do is ungroup all of these. Each of the SVGs has the score lines included. If you have a scoring wheel or a scoring stylus, you're going to want to use this, and if you don't, you can delete these lines and you can manually fold everything. I'm going through and I'm clicking on just those lines and I'm changing them to score. But the next thing you're going to want to do is make sure you go back and use the paperclip attach function at the bottom right and attach each piece. Make sure you're highlighting over just the 2 pieces that you need. As you can see here, I'm grabbing an extra piece that I don't want. So I'm just unclicking that and attaching just the 2 pieces together for each piece of each house. If you attach all of the pieces together for each house, you won't be able to individually color each one or change anything, and it will also cut in that shape, and you don't want that to happen. You want to utilize as much of the paper as you can. Once you have everything attached, I'm going to go through and start changing my colors. These are your houses, so please utilize whatever colors you want, but I'm going to choose a pink, white, and red scale for Valentine's Day. And make sure if you want to change the colors, you're only clicking on the flat piece, so not the scored lines. To do that, you're just going to want to click on both pieces, then go over to your sidebar and click on the flat piece. So I went through and I'm just changing all of my colors, keeping it in the same scale. I only went with 4 different colors in total. That way it wasn't all over the place and looked cohesive. I wanted to make these a little more Valentine's Day-esque, and so I added on some hearts. So for this first one, it's the shortest house. I'm just adding a heart at the top, and I'm going to use a slight inset. So that's the opposite of an offset. If you haven't used this, you just click on the offset function and then put a negative in front of it, and it'll do an inset into the object that you're on. So I'm doing a slight inset, and then I'm going to change the colors of those to match the rest of my project. During this, I decided I wanted to add a little bit of glitter, so I'm going to do a glitter pink rose colored paper, and I'm going to utilize that glitter again on the roof. So I'm grabbing a heart again. You can use whatever shape you want. I just thought a heart would go great with Valentine's Day, and I rotated that 90 degrees. And now I'm going to make a layer for my roof. So I'm going to make it look like tile shingles on the roof. So I'm going to do 2 and then 1 in between them. And you're going to want to use your align function here and your distribute function here within Cricut Design Space. So I am aligning over to the right, and I'm just going to add a little bit of space in between these, and then I'll add the 3rd heart in the middle slightly down like that. So you're going to want to have 3 hearts, so I'm just duplicating each heart. That way they're the same size and I don't have to worry about resizing them. And now again, because I adjusted everything, I'm going to align the top 2 over to the right. And then I'm going to grab all 3 and I'm going to use the distribute tool within align. Distribute's going to make an equal number of spaces in between the 3. Now I went ahead and I welded this using the combine tool in the bottom right. And I zoomed in on it, and what I noticed was that it was really small in the overlap. And so I didn't want that for when I cut, because if you cut and the weld is super close together, there's a chance that it might just cut all the way through. So what I did was I actually undid the weld by just doing a undo that you can use in the top left. And then I moved them closer together. So I used that top heart and the bottom heart and just used my arrows on my keyboard, and I moved them about 4 spaces up and 4 spaces down, and then I welded them that way. That way they had a little more overlap in them. Now I'm just duplicating again. I'm using some shortcuts with the duplicate, which I'm using a Mac, so my controls are Command C and Command V, and that is how I duplicate, or you can right click and hit duplicate when the drop down menu appears. So I'm just aligning these and then again going down to combined and weld, and I'm gonna do this one more time. Now for my next duplicate, I'm going to duplicate and I'm going to put it actually below it or next to it, whichever way you want to say. And I'm doing that so that I can resize this and make it a little smaller so I have a few more hearts on my roof. So again, I'm going to use the weld feature under combined and I'm going to weld these together, and then I'm just going to slightly move it and resize it to the one side of the roof. If you haven't noticed, I've only been working on the left side of that score line, and that's because we are going to duplicate one more time. I guess that's my favorite feature, and I'm going to flip it the other way. So once you have it sized to where you like it, you're going to duplicate again, and then you're going to use the flip function at the top, which is next to arrange, and you're going to flip horizontally. Now I'm just going to line these up again. Don't worry about the gap in between those top two hearts. And I'm going to align center vertically. Make sure the two hearts at the very top have some overlap, and weld one more time. You don't really need to worry about a score line on these. We're just going to be able to fold them because they have such a small amount together. If you notice I duplicated that back flat roof, you're going to want to do that as well because now we need to slice. So I'm going to combine and I'm going to hit just the top roof part and that welding all the hearts we just did, and we're going to slice it. You can delete the back part. We don't need that. You can delete the white one. And for some reason I had two white ones. You can delete that as well. And then you're just going to keep this top bit. Now you'll see it lines up perfectly with the roof on the bottom and it looks like heart shingles on top. But we're not going to be done here. So I'm going to add an offset because I want to have two layers so you can really see those hearts stand out. So now we're going to click on our offset, and again, you want to remove that negative if you have it from before, and I'm just going to do a slight offset. You can play around with your numbers to see how big or small you want it. I want mine relatively close so that it has holes in between each heart, and then I'm going to click OK. But the offset is also going to be slightly hanging over, so we need to slice this as well. So I duplicated just that flat layer this time, and we're going to center everything. So grab all of your layers by highlighting over, hit align and center, and now you're just going to grab the offset and the roof we just duplicated, and we are going to slice again. Now we can delete the white, delete that outline, that's the back, so you're going to see a small, very small outline of the offset. You're going to want to delete that, and now you are left with just a small offset. You're left with your shingle hearts, and you can go ahead and change the colors. So our last step is resizing these houses. I like to use as much of the paper as I can, so I resized everything, and make sure you're grouping the whole house, so highlighting over it, you don't actually have to group it, and changing the width to 11.5 if you have 12 by 12 paper. That is the max you can go on a 12 by 12 mat, with 12 by 12 paper is 11.5. So I'm making this 11.5 for all three of them. And then I'm going to send this over to my machine. I like using the scoring stylus over my scoring wheel just because it's faster. I don't have to change it out. And I'm cutting everything out on the medium cardstock setting or the glitter cardstock setting. And I prefer to do everything in fast mode just because it goes way quicker. Let's start building. So we're going to start with our house that has the heart on the top. And I'm just folding on those score lines. And what's nice is all three houses are going to be built the exact same way. I actually already built the house with the shingles on it, and so all I did was layer the roof first, then fold it in half. You can use a bone tool for scoring if you'd like to have really sharp edges. This is totally optional. And I like to go over all of my edges and just make them really crisp. If you don't have a bone tool, that's not a problem. You can use a popsicle stick or honestly just your fingers to really crease those down. Make sure you're going around and folding in the same direction. That way you don't have any weird lines. And then for your last little flap, make sure that's really crisp and even so that when we fold it and glue it together, you don't even see the seams. So for the sides of my house, I am going to use craft glue instead of hot glue, but you can use craft glue, you can use double-sided tape, whatever you'd like. And now I'm going to fold these over and make them as even as possible on both the side and the bottom because I want it to line up really beautifully and sit flush on a table for display. My craft glue dries relatively quickly, so I was able to continue working pretty fast. I'm using that same craft glue to attach my heart and the inset center, and I'm just going to center that on to the building. Now we're going to do the same here with the offset. I'm going to add my craft glue and add it right into the center of that little heart to add a little more Valentine's Day decor to these houses. For our roof, we are just going to fold in half and then we are going to use hot glue to attach this. I tried to attach it with a craft glue and it just did not work. It was kind of a pain. Hot glue is the way to go. So make sure you have your hot glue gun starting to warm up when you start your project. You're going to grab it and just put a very small line at the top of the side of the house, right where you see me putting it. You don't need a ton of it. It's just going to slightly attach that roof to the side of the house. So I'm grabbing this and I'm putting it on as even as possible, and then I'm going to slightly pat it down and then it's attached. And then you're going to just repeat the same thing on the other side. Now you have your first house done and we can go ahead and build our next house. So I'm just going to zoom through the steps of building the actual base structure because those are all going to be the same. So again, I am just folding on my score lines. I am using my bone tool for crisp edges, and I'm going to go around and then I'm going to attach the two sides together, making sure that the flap for the attachment is on the inside of the house. It's not like it's not going to work if the flap is on the outside. However, it does look a lot cleaner for your final project. So I'm grabbing my craft glue here. And again, I am attaching them and making sure the bottom is even and the side is even. And so that's a really crisp, closed look. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to attach the roof just like we did for the other two houses with a thin line of hot glue, placing one side of the roof down, grabbing my glue gun again, and placing the other side of the roof down. But now what makes this house a little bit different is this house has a chimney. And just like how we built the house, I am folding on all four sides of my chimney piece. And then there is a small little flap on the last side that we're going to place on the inside of the chimney. So exactly how we built the houses is how we're going to build this chimney. Now to attach it on, just like we attached on our roof, I'm using hot glue on the inside of all four walls of the chimney towards the very edge. So I'm lining it as close as I possibly can with a little bit hanging off. And then I'm just going to gently place it onto the roof. You want to keep it as close to the inside and the bottom as possible so that you don't have a ton falling out on the outside. And so it looks really clean. And now we have a little chimney on this house. It looks so cute. Thank you so much for crafting with me, and I can't wait to see what you make. Happy crafting!